go out. So I said, hey, that sounds like a great idea. So she invited my wife and her girlfriend down from Cincinnati to Milwaukee. I drove up with a bunch of guys, and we took them out. And my wife had red hair. And, you know, it's a very uncommon thing in Jamaica to see anyone with red hair, unless you're an Aborigine. So it caught my eye. Actually, we call them Rastas, you know. But it caught my eye, and I went and sat beside her. And of course, she would tell a different story. She said, that was the one caught your eye. But that's my story. I'm sticking to it. And so we got to meet tonight. And so I said, why don't you let me and my friend drive you and your friend back to Chicago, and you can take the plane from Chicago. So she said, oh, that's not a bad idea. So we drove them back. On the way back, my friend was speeding. We got stopped. The cops took us into the station and said, you have to post bond, $20 each, or you have to spend the night in jail. I said, well, I only have about $12. And I said, hey, what have you got? He's worse, he's got 7. I said, hey, that's not gonna do it. So I said, I better go ask the girls if they have any money. So I went over to her, and I said to her, do you have any money? And she said, well, a few bucks. I said, you have 20? And she said, yes. So she gave me 20. And then her girlfriend gave my friend Abe 20. And we went and paid the 20 bucks, and the cop sent us on our way. So we went to Chicago, sat there in the car and talking, and then they were going to take the flight. She missed the flight. So they had to she and her girlfriend up that night in Chicago. So anyway, to make a long story short, eventually she went home, told her family she met me and the 20 bucks. And her dad said to her, now let me see if I get this straight. You lent 20 bucks to a Chinese Jamaican who you just met. He said, you'll never get that 20 bucks back. On our way to Jamaica, after we got married, Castro, those were the Bay of Pigs, and Castro sent him a message saying, bring that plane down in Cuba. We used to fly over Cuba, and that we were one of the last ones who were allowed to fly over Cuba. After that, we had to fly around Cuba, and so they forced us to land, and we landed. They took our passport away to put us into a room about the size, all of us, and took our passports. And so we didn't know whether we were going to be detained or just what they were going to do with us. And Pat said to me, so I'm worried about my life and her life. And she says to me, I'm worried about my silver, my sterling on the plane. And I said, you're sterling, I'm worried about my life. But that's her life. We were always having these type of funny things to us. And, but anyway, they did talk to the State Department, and they got us released. And we were allowed to go to Jamaica.
And my silver was under the seat.
Under the seat. Yeah, under the seat. Yeah. So we went to Jamaica, and living in Jamaica is another experience. It's a very, very difficult place for her.
Elena was born here.
Yeah. So I started to live, and one day I came home and she was very upset. We had a maid to take care of Pat. It's a rough place, and so she said, I think we better go back. I said, why? She said, well, Ione and I were walking on the street to go to the store, and a bus driver tried to kill us. So I said, well, yeah, that wasn't me, but I said, yes, you're right. So then we started to try to make arrangements to come back, because it was very anti-American at the time. And I was okay, but she wasn't safe. So we decided, okay. And Helena was born in Jamaica. And that's another story. She said, I think we better go to the hospital, the baby's coming. Jumped in the car, driving to the hospital, a huge rainstorm. And you haven't seen a rainstorm until you've seen a rainstorm in Jamaica. it's water. It's not raindrops. It's like it's just a sheet of water. And we got behind a donkey cart. The donkey was a slow donkey. And we couldn't get around this donkey cart because I couldn't see to get around it. And we went behind this donkey cart, and she was in labor. Went to the hospital, and the sister, the head nun, said, "Let's get you in the prep room." And I heard Pat say to her sister, "No, we're going to the delivery room." And sister said, "No, we go to the prep room." But nobody was there. And Pat insisted. And sister examined her and said, "You're right. Call the doctor." Before the doctor got there, Helena was born. And the doctor was delivered Helena in her
slip and
bra. And so that's how close it was. And then when Helena was born, then of course, Pat and I being different, all our friends wanted to see what the baby looked like, so everybody came to see what the baby looked like. And but before Helena was born, one night, we woke up in Jamaica. We didn't have air conditioning. All the windows had metal bars, burglar bars, and you sleep with the windows open. We're sleeping, and she got up, and I said, "What's the problem?" She said, "There's a man outside by the window. This is the middle of the night, pitch dark." So I woke up, and she went to the bathroom, and I looked out of the window, and there's a naked man out there with a long stick and a hook. And in Jamaica, they have these hooks, and they come when you're sleeping, they hook your pants or your purse off the chair and pull it through the window. So it's not unusual to see someone else wearing your pants. It happened to my partner. And she's standing there with two snakes in her hands, and the kids are all looking up at the snake. And I don't have dinner, but I got two snakes. So, but that's an example of what our life was like in Cincinnati. We raised kids, and then we decided in 1993, Pat came down to build a house, and in '94 I retired and came down here. And but I still do consulting in Baton Rouge, and I go to Baton Rouge 2 weeks every month, normally, usually, and play golf with all you guys. But when I first came here, the best player was Ed Green and Buster Jackson, who was invited, but he didn't come tonight. And Tom Williams and Walt Salmon. Those two guys took all my money. We just gave money to these guys. They just won every year. So, but it's been wonderful. But before I say anything else, I want to give a thanks, a very hearty thanks, to all the people who served in the military. People like Les, like Dave, my brother-in-law, anyone here who served in the military, because without you guys putting your life on the line, people like me who can come from out of the trees, virtually, to this wonderful country, and then Carl, and to live the way I live, get beaten up in golf course by these guys, and enjoy it, and still enjoy it. And I just speak for a lot of people like myself. Thank you all for what you have done for us and make us free. And I think with that.
And he did cover a few of the things that I planned to. We did not compare notes on this. So I had to read. I'll have to read some of it. I wanted everyone to know this marriage is living proof that God knows what he is doing. He gave Colin the ability to be funny and me the ability to laugh.
That's true. That's true.
That is true.
You laugh at my jokes.
I laugh at your jokes sometimes. Oh gosh. And he gave Colin the ability and the humility to laugh at himself, which has been key to a lot of our getting along. The first or second, maybe the last meal I served when we first were married had Campbell's chicken noodle soup, which he proceeded to call chinken noodle soup. Which I thought, all right, this is good. And you actually did tell the story pretty well about how we met. That was good. You did good. But at any rate, it was one of the marriages that was not supposed to be. We were different. We came from very different backgrounds. He knew nothing and I knew it all. And that is true, isn't it? No, from different cultures. He knew a lot about his and I knew a lot about mine. But it was not supposed to be, and there was a little eyebrow raising, more than a little eyebrow raising, from both sides. You know, I was not exactly your average his kind, and he wasn't exactly the average my kind. But we put it together, and amazingly, we arrived at the 50th. Yeah. And it has been a blast. You can tell. You all have enjoyed him and his sense of humor, as I have. There have been, it's not all moonlight and roses. There have been problems along the way. Cultural problems. Never money problems, because he did support me and my kids great. And that is a good thing, for which they are very grateful. And I have a few things written down here, honey. I know you told me I shouldn't get serious. But I want to take this occasion to thank you for our beautiful children, Helena, Lars, and Chuck. Yay. And I want to thank Helena, Lars, and Chuck for their love and understanding while Dad and I worked at keeping it together. Thanks and immense credit to Colin for supporting us so well and comfortably. And on this public occasion, I want to thank him for his perseverance and forgiveness when I played with the kids and forgot to cook dinner. When I greeted him with large snakes wound around each arm. When I kicked Hubert the horse and disappeared down the riding path. And also for your support while I nursed my family through their illnesses. And I want to thank all of you for your contributions, for welcoming him and making him so happy on the golf course. It has meant so much to us. That golf is the thing. And we all appreciate your friendship so much and for being with us. And we want to thank all those up there who can't be with us and those everywhere who couldn't be with us tonight, because it has been one great celebration, and we hope you all had a good time. Yes. And I think we will survive a few more years.
Anybody would like to say anything?
I just say a couple of things.
Someone of his life experiences, you know, it's a story of resolve and determination. Anybody gets in the wrong line at IIT and still make a successful career out of it. But we all know that Colin has been a successful engineer and expert in his field, but what you don't know, and I don't know if you want me to tell this or not.
You tell anything.
I do.
It didn't start out so auspiciously. He was in private school in Jamaica. He was an indifferent student. He wasn't very interested. His mind was elsewhere. He liked to know how things worked and all that. He had a passion for model airplanes, remote-controlled airplanes. But he bombed out in class. As a matter of fact, he got a notice that he was on probation, and they were going to put him in a lower class. Is that right?
Yep.
And he was out one day on the campus, and he was playing with his remote-controlled airplane, and it crashed. And Colin was down on his hands and knees picking up the pieces, and one of the teachers that he didn't know came by. A priest. And he said, what's your name, young man? He gave him his name, and he said, what class are you in? And Colin says, well, I'm in the B track, you know. He said, He said, "You're in the wrong place." He said, I want you to come to my class, and I'll take care of the paperwork. Monday morning you show up. And it turned out to be an advanced class. And suddenly, Colin, I don't know whether it was the atmosphere or whether you wanted to feel an obligation to respond to this offer from this gentleman, and that turned his life around. He became an outstanding student, ended up at Illinois Institute of Technology, one of the finest engineering schools in the country. And he was a culture shock. You were 95 pounds, a will-o'-the-wisp guy, and you got in midst of all these street-savvy guys, and they were telling you about pizza pie and all that. And he told the story about how he overcame all of this. And I remember you told me about those guys chiding you because you weren't interested in the local football teams there.
Right.
Weren't interested in Illinois or Northwestern or Notre Dame.
Right.
He said, Colin, I'm interested in LSU.
Right.
He said, you're interested in LSU? Well, at that time, it was coached by a guy by the name of Paul Dietzel. And they had a very aggressive defensive team nicknamed the Chinese Bandits. Colin said, I'm an LSU fan because they got all these Chinese players. But anyway, your life story is rewarding and fulfilling, and thank you for sharing all this with us, and congratulations on your
Bob, you missed the part too. They used to call me an L7 in Chicago because I was a square.